Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name is Chris, and I'm dialing in from Johannesburg, South Africa. And welcome to Thursday night training on the 11th of April, 2024. Tonight, we've got something very exciting lined up. We've got Merle dialing in from KwaZulu-Natal, who's going to be sharing a story this evening, how within a year and a half, has hit the second highest rank in LifeWave, which is called Presidential Director. I've been part of LifeWave for 16 months now, and I think Merle probably joined about 2, 3 weeks after me. So we joined more or less at the same time. So we were right here in the beginning stages of getting LifeWave up and going in South Africa. And I remember when we came down to KwaZulu-Natal, our first meetings that we had, I think there were about 4 or 5 people at a meeting, and that was us just getting the ball rolling. And here we are a year later after that. And, we're talking in front of rooms of hundreds of people and making a difference in this country and putting LifeWave on the map. And we're creating a little tsunami. So if you look at the waves behind Merle, that's exactly what we're talking about is LifeWave. And very quickly, just a little bit about Merle. Merle, in the last 30 years, has owned her own complementary healing practice and comes from the health and wellness world. And I think, as per with myself, I think we just saw this technology and we just resonated with it. You either see it or you either don't. And we just took this with both hands and decided, let's run with this and make a difference in the world. And we are starting to now hit an exponential growth curve. And Merle, it's been an absolute honor and a privilege walking with you on this journey and looking forward to many, many years ahead, walking with you on this journey and making a difference in people's lives. So without any further ado, Merle, tell us, how did you become presidential director within a year and a half, where the rest of the world said South Africa won't be able to do it, and we're proving them wrong? So there we go. Over to you.
Thanks so much, Chris. I mean, it feels quite surreal. I have been at presidential director rank for 7 weeks now. Can you believe it? I got there at the end of February, having joined LifeWave in December 2022, just after you, 8th of December. And when I joined, unlike Chris, I didn't take it as, oh, I'm going to build this network. Because of my healing background, so as Chris said, I've been in complementary healing for nearly 30 years. I'm a life alignment therapist and teacher. And then for the last almost 14 years, I've been a low-carb nutrition therapist as well. I work with doctors, I coach their patients, get them off medications, and I co-authored a book. South Africans will know who Sally Ann Creed is. I wrote the Low Carb Creed with Sally Ann Creed in 2016. So healing was what I did. And when I started, I ran 2 online nutrition groups at any one time online, and I had my life alignment practice, and I did one-on-one nutrition coaching, which I still do. So blood tests and referring and those kinds of things. And when I was introduced by Candace, and I want to thank Candace, because if it wasn't for Candace, I wouldn't have been on a call with George and I wouldn't be here. I looked at the product, and George told us about somebody in Spain who got rid of their tinnitus. And my husband has had tinnitus for nearly 30 years. And his tinnitus, I think, comes from being in the construction industry. He's a civil engineer, from diving. He's always spearfished and crayfished, and his ear canals have narrowed, so they know that. So has LifeWave cured his tinnitus? No, it hasn't, but what has happened is it is much better than it was. So it's improved remarkably, and of course he's had many other improvements. So when I just joined because I wanted to do something for Des's tinnitus, but I didn't realize the power of the product. So I thought, well, I'll come in on silver, because that way there is a pack for me, a pack for Des, and then next month I only need to buy another one. And that was 8th of December. Now in 2012, I'd injured my shoulder doing a fitness challenge, and I had spent many appointments in the physio and chiro dealing with this injured shoulder. I couldn't do a lot of the things I wanted to, including I couldn't sleep with my arm under a pillow. I know you're not supposed to do that, but I couldn't do it. Well, within a week, I could sleep with my arm under the pillow. So I thought, okay, well, this is great. And then Elodie, who's the first person I signed up, and she's one of my directors now, Elodie phoned me and she was moaning at everybody. She'd had 3 months with a shoulder where she couldn't lift her arm above shoulder height, and she couldn't play tennis, and she'd just come back from the physio again. And she said, well, my shoulder. And I said, well, I've got something. And I got a patch to Elodie. She stuck on a patch and she was a one patch wonder. She wrote it down. I think it's 23 minutes later, she lifted her arm above her head and she said, I want this. And that was my first sign up, but that was before Christmas and I wasn't really going to network markets. I had to say that I'd been in a binary before and my experience hadn't been good. But as Harvey always says, it's not network marketing, it's network marketers. And although I'd been successful in South Africa in the company I'd been in before, we went into COVID, it was a travel company, and I didn't feel it was right that people were paying money and I was making and other people weren't. So I gave up and I was never doing this again. I was focusing on my healing practice. So I didn't do anything else. And then in January, a client came to see me. And Nina came, she's one of my life alignment students and therapist, and she said, you're looking great, what are you doing? I told her she started patching. And this is where the penny dropped for me. She has a friend called Karen, who is now a manager in my downline. She's my second line. And Karen, many of you might have seen Karen's story. Karen had a car accident 35 years ago and basically an internal decapitation. And for the last 12 years, she'd not been able to even drive a car. And Nina told her after much debate, Karen started patching and a few weeks later she was driving a car. So then I thought, well, okay, I can't keep this a secret. How can I be in healing and not tell others? So I started telling people. Now, because I've had a practice for so many years, I have a lot of clients, I have a lot of therapist friends. Didn't really tell my therapist friends. The first ones I told were a bit reluctant, but I started telling my clients, and in February I went manager. But it was like really slow for me. So I know a lot of people said, oh, they really took off. I can help my people take off much faster, obviously, now because I've learned so much. I think we all have. I think Chris was in the same situation. We didn't really know what we were doing. I did, however, know that I was in a binary and that I must not give anybody away. Everybody that I spoke to needed to come in under me. So I did that. That was the one thing that I did right from the beginning. And I realized that on a binary, 660, 330, you need to make sure that one leg is stronger than the other. Don't let your legs become equal. So that was one of the big lessons I knew. And so right from the beginning, I made sure, and obviously I'd stayed active, so I had a whole lot of points. By January, I'd upgraded to gold, and then I went to platinum and I went to diamond down the line. But I made very sure that I built my legs so that one leg is always much bigger than the other. And so every time I get 330 on my weaker leg, I can get 660 on my stronger, and I can get a cycle bonus. So I did that from very early on, but I wasn't really getting, I was getting there from April. So I have to admit that it was only from April that I started earning every month. But you know what's so amazing about LifeWave, and I'm sure most of you have found it already, is that everybody helps you. Everyone helps each other. So Chris started doing calls, I started presenting on some of them, and I went to all the calls and I was there. And when you're there, you get seen. So Harvey was saying to me, oh, well done, you've signed up another person. Okay, you've made a manager in your team. What do you do? Well, I took one thing from Harvey before we even started mentoring me, which was only in August. And that was be a manager making machine and just help your team make managers. So from the very beginning, I started looking who's bringing people in, even if they're 6-7 lines below me, and helping those people become manager and teaching my team to make managers, because it's actually easy. 2 left, 2 right, silver or above, and you make a manager. Well, it sounds easy, but then we're in South Africa. So the other thing that I realized really early on is that there was going to be a lot of resistance about the cost, and that you just had to be straight down the line and say, well, what do you spend on medication? What do you spend on going out? It's really not expensive. And I know that Harvey has said to me that there are other SPDs who now starting teams in South Africa, and they're all worried about the price point. It's never been an issue for me because I've been very clear on what the value of the product is. And for example, how much I was saving a month on the Caro, and that was paying for my product. Didn't know it was going to do that to start with. But when you can be very sure about that and you can tell people what the value is about what you have, then it becomes quite easy. So what did I learn? Okay, so be a manager making machine. We all know that from Harvey, and he taught us that well. The other thing that I really, really took as being very important was be a copycat, but copy the right cat. So listen to who it is that you are learning from, and whatever you learn, teach that to the people below you. Because if you learn something or you pick something up that really changes your business, you don't share that with your team, you're doing them a disservice, because they're not going to get where you're going to go. And it took me a long time to learn a lot of these things, because I went manager in February, I only went director in August. That's get 2 managers. It took me a long time to get a manager on each leg, and I went director. And then Harvey said, okay, well, do you want to get to senior director? There was this promotion and there was a cash incentive, and I didn't get there. And we tried, and I worked really hard. And I also realized that when you want to do this, you have to give things up for a season. Chris knows, he's doing the roadshow at the moment. You give things up because you know that if you work in your business, you are going to reap the rewards down the line. Now, I spoke to Alex the other day, who again is one of my first line, and I said, oh, I'm doing this training tonight. And she said, well, you need to tell people that you actually did most of this from behind your computer. So my son is 20 now, and he's in his second year of chef school. He's a qualified chef already, but he's doing second year. When he started chef school last year, we couldn't afford to buy him a car. And so I shared my car with him, because I wasn't going to drive there every day and drive back. And as a result, I had a car on a Monday, because at chef school in first year, you're only off on a Monday. You're there 6 days a week and 1 weekend a month off. So it was only on a Monday, if I had my husband's car on a weekend, that I could actually go anywhere. So I built my network from behind my computer, because obviously I work from home. That's where my practice is. So all my clients come to me. So if I couldn't get out, it was more important that he could actually, go to chef school. But by, I think it was October, I actually bought him his first car. And that was amazing, because obviously things changed dramatically. Anyway, I didn't get to senior director, and you get disappointed. You think, I'm really pushing for this. But what did happen was my cycle bonuses started improving. And I thought I could really do with that cash input, because second year chef school has a big deposit my first year had. And for those in South Africa, you probably all know that COVID hit us hard, and it made a big impact on our finances. So my husband didn't work for a lot of COVID. He's an engineer, and he was doing a water project, and they stopped work, and it was his own company. So of course, you're not working, you're not paid. And that had spin-offs. So even last year, it was still a struggle, even though we'd always been fairly comfortable. My son was in a private school, those kind of things, but it wasn't comfortable anymore. It was quite hard. And it was, how do we get ahead and do this? Anyway, I worked hard for this to get there, but I wasn't getting where I wanted to go. But I was getting the cycles, and my team was growing, and we kept building managers. So I stopped focusing on, well, how did I get the directors? And I did what Harvey told me to do. And that was duplicate, make managers, just keep making managers. And so, of course, the cycles improved. But you know what happened? I got to senior director in December. Well, I went senior and executive the same day. And it was in December. And that meant that I got there in the qualification period for Prague. Now, I qualified both ways for Prague. I qualified on points for one ticket, but I qualified as a senior director because I held rank for 7 weeks, so that my husband and I could go to Prague. That's where I'm going to be meeting George in Prague, because, that's where we're going. And I got 2 tickets that way. But obviously, as I said, I worked then to qualify both ways. And you teach your team what to do. So I know Adrian's on the call, and Adrian is in my second line and is in the UK, and he's one of my Life and Ireland colleagues. And it was only in December that I told my international colleagues about what I was doing and about LifeWave. And Arlene in Australia jumped in under me, and then Adrian came in under Arlene. And Adrian is also qualified to go to Prague, and he's going to be there with me. And he came in and just replicated what I was doing. And he was a machine, because he came in right towards the end of the promotion, and he made it. So it just shows that if you teach your team what to do, you pass on those nuggets, they'll do exactly what you'll do. And he's also started presenting. Adrian, I've got Adrian Squared, and they're both in London at the moment, or in the UK. They're not in London, they're both in the UK at the moment, and they are both presenting for Australia, for the UK, and they are passing the word on. One is a director, one's a manager. So it really is about teaching your team. And what I have learned over time is that you can suggest things to your brand partners. We're all in business for ourselves, but not by ourselves, which is important. But you can make suggestions, but you can never tell anybody what to do. And it's when they're listening to you, are they actually hearing what you're saying? Because often you'll suggest something and the person you're suggesting it to doesn't want to hear. And you can just keep saying the same message. And sometimes they're never going to hear, and you have to accept that people have their own journey. So one of the things that I found really important in my journey was not just listening. So when Harvey started mentoring me for 6 weeks, that was a funny thing. I think Harvey's on the plane and I think he's on the call now. But he came to me in August and said, I'll mentor you for 6 weeks and we'll see where your team goes. Well, that was August and we're now in April and he's still mentoring my team. And I'm so thankful for that because that has just accelerated where we're going. But it's not just Harvey. I mean, it's everybody. So Steve and Gina, I mean, the support we have from everyone in this team is absolutely amazing. I've never seen anything like it. And so I want to emulate what I'm seeing. I want to do for my team what's being done for me and pass on every single nugget that I get. And the biggest thing that I can say to everybody is, first of all, duplicate, then teach what you've learned. So if you realize that there is a big mistake you've made, teach your team to not make that same mistake. So if you did something like you grew one leg bigger than the other leg, or you put so many people on your left leg that on your right leg that you've got like 7 or 8 managers on one leg, and on your other leg you've got one manager, and sometimes you're battling to have enough people to stay active as, say, a director. Make sure that your team don't do the same thing, that they start off by trying to balance the amounts of people that they're putting and then see where it's going, because it becomes difficult sometimes when you think, okay, well, one leg is smaller than the other. I'm going to put everybody there because I want cycles. But in actual fact, you can't do that. Because if you keep putting everybody onto the leg to get your cycles, your other leg, yes, it might have a lot of volume, but that might be the leg that you will put on. And if you just keep doing that, you have no stability there. So it looks like there's loads of volume, but that's not your business. Yes, it's created by everybody that you're in business with. I mean, I am on the same leg as Chris. We're both on the right leg. So I know that there are a lot of people in my right leg that have nothing to do with me. But I have some solid teams there. I've got a Mexican team on my right leg. I've got my UK team on my right leg, my Australians, now my Norwegians, my Danish, I mean, we're all over the world. But I've made sure that I've cemented that leg too. Even though it seems like, oh, there's so much volume there, you should put everybody on the other leg. You can't do that. You have to make sure that you have a solid business. And that was one of the things that I picked up too. Make sure that you have a solid business and that you don't make that mistake. You want to have several managers on each leg, because if you do, you're going to be a solid director. And you want to be a solid director. You don't want to be worrying every week, has my manager got enough people so that they stay manager? Because if they don't, now I'm not a director. And for me, that was really important in the beginning. And then just keep building managers, because that's how you're going to get more directors. So I now have 3 directors. I'm working towards having more, but it's not about looking at director or executive director or senior director and trying to get people to the highest rank. It's trying to make managers. Just keep it simple, make managers. And then use your upline. That was something I learned really early on. So in the beginning, I used George a lot. Thank you, George. And then Harvey came along and started mentoring my team. And then I learned what to do. So well, from quite early on, I guess I learned what to do, because I come from the healing industry. So it's perhaps a bit different for me. And actually a lot of my team, because we're therapists, we have clients or we have students or we have colleagues who are going to be interested in health and wellness. So it's not necessarily going out and talking to people who have no experience, but there are all kinds of things. I have pharmacies in my team, medical doctors, chiropractors, and there's something to be learned from everybody. So stay humble and learn from the people below you, because my team can give me a lot of information about things that I don't know about. So in my team, Cindy, and I think Cindy's on the call too, so she's one of my directors. We call her Sister Cindy, nursing sister, from Link Hills Pharmacy. Cindy is like the expert on patching for pain and inflammation. So if anybody wants to know what patches people should have, or if somebody's really got an issue, Cindy's got more experience in that than anybody else. So that's who we go to. So know who in your team has an area of expertise who you can go to. My team is now, the Afrikaans part of my team is getting quite large. Find out who can present in Afrikaans. I've taught in an Afrikaans high school, but presenting in Afrikaans is definitely not something that I'm comfortable doing. It's many years since I actually spoke Afrikaans all the time. I understand it perfectly, and I'm happy to go on the calls and I can answer questions. I tend to answer them in English, but be there. It doesn't matter what the language is. I mean, I've sat through a call with Harvey that's been in Spanish because it was one of my team, and then her Spanish was better than her English. And of course, Harvey's Spanish was better than her English. And I sat there and didn't have a clue what was going on, but that's okay. Be there. It's like Harvey's been in an Afrikaans call. He knows one word. For South Africans, he knows lekker. So, you know, just show up and show your team that you're always willing to be there. And then share your knowledge. For me, that is the most important thing. Share everything that you learn, because that's what this is all about. And find somebody to chase. Who do you want to chase? And then the other thing that Harvey taught me when he first started mentoring me is every week, when you start getting cycle bonuses and you're a manager, every week strive to match or beat what you did the week before. Because if you match or beat what you did the week before, you're always going to progress. And in the beginning, it would be a Sunday afternoon, and I'd be sitting there going, okay, I'm not going to match what I did last week. Okay, we have to hit 16. And that was the magic number for a very long time, 16. And how am I going to get to 16 or beat 16? And you know what? Almost every week I got it, because I was so determined that I was going to help someone in my team sign somebody up or do another call so that I actually got there. And that was one of the really important things. Persevere. Don't give up. Because you could easily say, okay, well, it's weekend, it's Sunday, let's have an afternoon snooze, I'm just going to read my book. But in actual fact, when you read your book, make sure that you're reading books that fill your mind with information. Atomic Habits, I know that on one of the groups this week, George and Dr. Ali were recommending Atomic Habits. I've read it twice. We even listened to it with my son when he was still at school. Again, his matric year. We listened to Atomic Habits with him because it's so important to cultivate those little habits, because they make such a difference. And I would recommend that everybody reads that, along with obviously the book of the month, which is really important. So feed your mind, because if you are growing as a person, your business is going to grow. So yeah, that's also really important. And then plug in. I can't stress that enough. The people who plug in are the people who succeed. I've got it written in across 4 lines in my notes, because so many people say, I can't do this. This is so hard. I joined and I'm not getting anywhere, and they give up. But they've never been on a single presentation. They've maybe sat and listened to you and thought, oh, this is a great idea, and then they've had a great result. But they haven't been on a presentation. They don't come on trainings. They don't ask questions. They don't ask you to do calls. Just plug in. Because if you plug in, everything you hear, and every time you hear it, it makes a difference. And every time you're on a call, you're going to hear a different story from someone. And that little nugget that you hear on a call is really important. And then the other thing is, besides plugging in, when you bring people in, get them to launch their business. Now, why is launching important? So important to not think you can do it all yourself. Because some people come in and they think, okay, well, this is great, and they get the presentation. I've been on lots of presentations. I'm going to do these presentations myself. I want to do it. I'm going to do it every week. They don't get anyone else to do it for them. But again, Harvey, I always say this, which says that if you tell your children to do something, they're not necessarily going to do it. But if somebody else tells them, they will. But it's also about edifying someone else. and saying, okay, well, this is my upline, this is the person that introduced me, this is where their background, they are going to talk for me, or you're going to talk about them, get them to tell their story, and then do a presentation for them. And that is so useful. Everybody who tries to do it for themselves at the beginning, so it's really quite difficult, because maybe you're not even a manager yet, and now you're going out and say, well, I've joined this business, but I'm presenting it. Get somebody who is in your upline, who holds a rank or who's been there longer to do it for you. And everybody's willing to do it. I have my nutrition partner, coaching partner, is in my downline, and she wants an Afrikaans presentation. Now, I'm not prepared to do it, but Razan will do it. And Razan is a manager. She's in Namibia today, or on her way to Namibia for a company function for her husband, so she's not on the call. But what she did, so she joined me after 11 months. Don't stop. That's another thing. Don't give up on people. 11 months of dropping hints. She's one of my very close friends. We live on the same road. And she was in another networking business. Well, she still is. And I thought she was doing quite well, but I kept telling her what I was doing. And then she went to a talk. And this is in South Africa. Don't prejudge. Especially, I mean, in nowhere in the world prejudge. But in South Africa, don't prejudge. Because you don't know that person driving the fancy car, living in the fancy house with their children in private schools, maybe battling to keep all of that together. And you don't know that because they're not going to let it slip. Anyway, so Roseanne and I do lots together. And she went to a networking meeting with Cindy Norcott, and some of you may know who she is in South Africa. She started a foundation called the Robin Hood Foundation. But she was talking, and she was saying that everybody needs 6 to 7 streams of income. And Razan finally, and that was November last year, thought, I'm telling people I'm giving them an extra stream of income, but I actually don't have one. And she got home that afternoon, she phoned me. She said, okay, Friday, we're going to have a glass of champagne. That's what we often do on a Friday afternoon. I want to know about LifeWave. And I phoned Harvey and I said, I'm going to see Roseanne. You better be on standby. I'm putting you on a call when I get there. But anyway, we started talking, and she said, but you were talking, we go to all the same businesswomen's networking meetings. So we belong to 2 networks. And she said, the other day you were talking about $1,000 a month. I could do with an extra $1,000 a month. And I showed her my back office. And at that stage in November, I was earning over $1,000 a week. And she went, oh my gosh, you're earning more in a week than what I'm earning in a month. And I've been working this business for 4 years. And I'm in the top 10% in Africa. I'm not going to say what network it is, but anyway, top 10% in Africa, but it's a Me Too product. And she said, I don't care about the product. I've been trying to get her involved because her mum has Alzheimer's, but anyway, she said, I don't care about what the product is. If you're doing this, you're making that much, the product must work. I'm in it for the money. We got on a call with Harvey, and he asked her about what her goals were, and that's important too. So we'll go back to what she did, but let's talk about those calls. When you get on a call with somebody who's new, listen to what it is that they need in their life. Don't assume that they just need the patch for health. Ask them, what do they need from this? Where are they in their life? Do they need to make extra money? What are their concerns? Because you often find out what they need. Anyway, Roseanne, the first person she signed up was Kathy, and Kathy's on the call, and Kathy's a chiropractor. And I think Kathy thought that she was going to be have a meeting about the last company that Roseanne was in. And then what Roseanne did is she kept saying, well, I don't speak medical speak, you do. So she kept taking me along or putting me on calls with everybody that she was talking to. So we got her to manager, I think, in 2 weeks. But I either did a Zoom or I went with her to every single appointment. And that's important, be there to support your people. Now, you can't always be there in person, but you can get the people on calls. I'm always there for people if they want me to be on calls with their people. And I'm happy to obviously do live presentations for my team, but that was important. So we got her there really quickly because I was going with, and did the medical speak, you see. And then she started talking to people about how, things that were a bit difficult financially and what were their financial situations. And I cannot tell you how many people we found who have come into LifeWave to change their finances and then found the product. Obviously, Roseanne signed up, her product arrived, And the first day she patched her husband for a neck spasm. He came home from work with a spasm in his neck. He's got a really stressful job. And the pain went straight away. And of course she said, you don't have to pretend just because you're my husband. You know, I've got a new business. You want to support me? And he's like, no. Eyes got bigger and bigger. Not this with Ice Wave. And a couple of days later, her daughter collided with a dog, similar situation. And now she goes nowhere without her patches, because she's going to find someone to patch everywhere. And her team is just growing by the day, and she'll be my next director for sure. We're very close to that. But it's a case of not giving up on people, because you don't know when they are actually going to join. And I don't mean giving up in that like I tried to do a hard sell, because I didn't. I just kept sharing what I was experiencing compared to what she was experiencing in the company she was in. And they were very product focused as opposed to business focused. And for me, it's LifeWave is all about the business. If somebody wants the product, sign them up as a preferred customer. And I have quite a lot of those. I don't retail at all. I don't want to be selling people product or holding products as stock. Don't want to be doing that. But I'm happy to have preferred customers. And obviously I'm going to patch people. And then one of the other really important things I learned quite early on is that as your team gets bigger, you have to become a pointer. You can't be doing everything for everyone. You cannot be setting up everyone's e-wallet. You can't be sitting with every single person in the team and explaining a compensation plan. There's all kinds of things that you can't be doing. Maybe we were doing that in the beginning. Obviously, every now and then you've got to look at something. Today, I looked at I've been trying to help one of my downline who's battling setting up her e-wallet, and she sent me the bank and she submitted. And straight away, I picked up that she didn't have the international code, not the SWIFT code, but the international code for her bank. Now, the bank, we won't go into what bank it is, gave her a letter along with the code, and they gave her branch code, not the international. And for me, that big problem, because that's not just her, it was the bank. It begins with an S. Our usual, the one we have a lot of problems with. But now they actually gave her the wrong information. Now her money had been paid and rejected now. So I stepped in there, but I said, now you got to sort it out. You need to go to the bank. You need to get another letter. I've understood why. But in the beginning, we might have been helping people do that. And people will phone and say, I don't understand the compensation plan. Can you meet me and be very patient and go over it and over it and over it? Well, you know what? Since Steve and Gina put this as a team together, there are amazing, amazing tools for everything. So Chris's toolbox is great, but now you've got videos on every single thing on this as a team. The comp plan there even explains how, if you're a manager or a director or a senior director, how you get extra, your fast start bonuses for platinum and diamond. Don't know if everybody here knows, but if you're a manager and the person who signs up for platinum or diamond is not on diamond and they're not a manager yet, you are going to take extra commission from that. Not everybody knows that. That is on the video, the comp plan video, and this is it. So go and watch all those things. Plug into what you need to do. It's all there. And so plug into it and point people there. Because every time somebody phones you, if you have to explain everything to every single person, you're never going to get anywhere. I mean, I still have a practice, not as much as I did before. I've given up my online nutrition coaching. I only do one-on-one sessions now. And I did it because my sole focus now is LifeWave. Okay, I still also do life alignment clients, but I don't do as many clients as I used to do. But it's all about where is your focus and what is the season, what season are you in? And for me, it's almost Zooms every single day. Luckily, as I said, I have a son who's a chef and my husband cooks really well. So they get to do things like make dinner, whereas I always used to do that kind of thing. Sometimes I do, but they do a lot of what I did. But the benefits are huge. And the payoff is huge because it's completely changed our lives, and it can completely change your life. If your life hasn't changed yet from LifeWave, know that it's coming. And I was going to show you my graph tonight, and I couldn't get it into a format that was big enough, but having a husband who's an engineer is very useful, and I'll share it on the group so you can see. So what he did is he plotted a graph for me that shows every single week. And in fact, I can probably also share, he's done it so I can share the thing that you can all plug in all the data. Every week it showed my income, and I got it from the beginning of last year. And then it showed my 4-week income and my average and my curve. And you know, there's that curve. Well, it went very slow at the bottom. And then it started going, and now it's going. And obviously there's some weeks that it does this, but like Christmas and Easter. And you know, when you start watching the trends, you start going, okay, well, it's that time of the month, or this is working now. And it's amazing to see where things go. And then, of course, as I said, my husband is going to Prague with me, so that's amazing. We just booked our air tickets, we're staying longer, and company trips are amazing. Now, the next incentive for everybody out there is Macaresh. You all need to look at how to qualify. It's so much easier than the last qualification. So much easier if you've had a look at it. Last time was hard. You can ask Adrian. He was up till the last minute on the Sunday making sure that he qualified and had extra points in case. But you want to keep your ranks. So when you hit ranks, make sure you stay there, because that obviously benefits you. And for Macaresh, if you keep rank, you're going to get points every week for the rank that you've kept. I don't know if anybody's looked at that. And that makes a big difference, because we didn't get that last time. You're also going to get points for upgrades, which we didn't get last time. And that kind of thing can catapult your business. Get the people in your downline working towards going. I mean, something that's amazing. For me, getting Adrian working towards going and going director obviously made a big difference on my right leg. And Arlene went director after Adrian, but far faster than me. And then what else? Build relationships. It's so important, because the people that we're in business with become some of our best friends. I talk more to the people in my team. Okay, a lot of them were my friends to start with, but I talk more to the people in my team than I actually talk to my friends who are not involved in LifeWave. They don't understand. They don't understand the focus. They don't understand why you don't go out as much at night, why you are busy. I mean, and I don't mean become a hermit, because going out is important, because you meet people, and those people that you meet are very possibly going to come into your business. But when you go out, and I talk to my team about vomiting, don't vomit all over everybody. So don't like gush about LifeWave the whole time. Actually listen to people and chat to them and be normal. Okay, you're not this really weird freak. You know, if you're at a LifeWave event, talk LifeWave. If you're not, and somebody's in pain or whatever it might be, patch them. Otherwise, just say, I've got this amazing opportunity. I'd love a coffee date with you, and set up something for during the week. Don't start having a LifeWave party at the Briar with your friends, because it's really not great, and nobody wants that. You're going to become the person nobody wants to see, and I definitely don't want that. You know, it's that like old school network marketing where you kind of attacking people with everything that you have. We don't want to be doing that at all. I just remember that from the 70s and 80s. You know, that's what people did. Chris was smiling. I think somebody told me the other day that was what the Amway people do. Invite you for a dinner party and you get a presentation. Okay, that's not happening in my house. If you're invited for a dinner party or for drinks, you're not getting LifeWave, unless you need it for some reason. But it's not going to be the topic of conversation. But people start seeing what's changing in your life, and then they want to know what's changed. How is it? So the other thing that happened to me was, when was it? 2 months ago, my son had an issue with his car. So he had my car and he'd gone to gym. And on the way out of gym, it was a Saturday night, it was after chef school, they'd locked the bottom doors. He was going up the ramp and a trolley was coming head first down the ramp. And instead of letting the plastic trolley hit the car, he thought he would reverse, and he ended up going into a pillar. And insurance managed to make it just over, like 2,000 Rand over what they would pay. So they wrote my car off. Now, a year ago, that would have been a huge drama. It would have been, okay, well, what insurance gave me, I would have to have a car for, and that would be all I could have. But instead, I have lovely friends like Elodie and her husband Shane, who does cars, who found me a great car. I hadn't even looked at it. Des phoned Shane, Shane found me a car. And I could pay more than what insurance paid out. So I paid double what I got from insurance, or more than double, and I bought a different car. Okay, I didn't buy a brand new car, because for me, that's not hugely important, but a much better car. Well, I think a better car. My husband said I downgraded from a BMW to a Nissan, but for me, X-Trail's great. And I can do these things where it would have been a massive, massive stress. So it is life-changing, but it's not about, oh, I've like suddenly made it, because I haven't. I mean, plenty of people are doing way better than me. And in a life wave, I'm still a toddler. I think that's important. I'm a toddler still. If I look at like Steve and Gina and Harvey and Mike, like I am nowhere there, nowhere near. So I listen to every single thing they say, and I hear what they're saying. I don't just listen. It's not just words. I write notes. I've got books and books, and I have my trusted book, the Seagull Green. I mean, I have pages and pages of notes, and obviously David Schmidt and products, but I don't need to know everything about the product, and that's important too. Don't think I can't start doing this until I know every single thing about the product. Because if you do that, and I do have people in my team who want to do that, you're not going to get started because you're so busy studying it all that you don't actually share it with anybody. You might be excited about your own results, but you need to share it. So start sharing and put people onto, this is a team, get them to watch the videos. I always say, especially watch video number 3, Dr. Leyland Stillman. Obviously, get them on presentations. I use the same presentation that's used by Steve and Gina, and this is a team because it's short and sweet. We can do it in half an hour. And I don't think people want to be on Zoom calls for a long time. Although sometimes we do longer calls because testimonies are wonderful, and it's better to have more time for testimonies, especially if you know what they are about. And my team are great at that, and we know who's got what stories. So, you know, I see Caroline smiling. I can't see lots of people, but I can see Caroline smiling, and I always know Caroline has a great story about her husband being stood on by a horse with his foot, thinking he'd broken his toe. But we know the stories, and we know, you know, what's happening, and that's the exciting thing. We wake up every morning to new stories, so we've got lots to share. And don't think that because it's not South African, or it's not British, or it's not Australian, that you can't share it, because so many people have this aversion to what they see as American. And there's no reason to have an aversion to it, because there's so much of value. And they've got lots of testimonies. So maybe we've got lots, I mean, Chris has put lots together, we've got lots, there are lots of testimonies for South Africa. I mean, our Telegram group, there's loads, well, not just South African, but take what's valuable from everybody. What you don't like, you don't have to take, but take what's valuable, and don't judge anybody. Don't say, well, I can't go on that because it's going to be too high peak for me, or the Americans are too loud, because I know that I've heard that so much in the beginning. Don't think that, because that's where the wisdom is going to come from. I've learned more from Harvey than I learned in any other networking company that I've ever been in. Okay, only a couple, and the last one was the only one I was successful. But when I think about how they train people and what they did compared to how we train here, so different. And then I've probably spoken about it. Last thing, and then we can see if there are any questions, is roots. Go down in your roots. Don't just focus on the people you brought in and the people they brought in, and maybe your third level, because those are the ones you're getting cycle matches from. Go down. I mean, I'm 19 levels below Harvey. And I want to know, if I see people are signing people up all the time, I'm going to say, okay, can we get on a call with your team? How can we help you? And what can you do? What can we do to help you succeed? Because some people just sign people up. Those people don't do anything. They sign up tons of people, and then they think that I'm not getting to the next rank. And then sometimes you might do a call with them and you're still not really getting anywhere, because their people are still not plugging in. And sometimes they haven't found the right person yet, or it's not the right time. I've got people in my team who've been in the business nearly a year, and only now are they signing people up. And that's okay too, because everybody has the right time. So don't ever write anybody off, because you don't know where your diamond's going to come from. It can come anywhere. I don't think that when Candace signed me up, she knew me well as a therapist. She's also a therapist. Don't think she ever thought that I was going to build a network. I didn't. I definitely didn't think I would get there. And, you know, in the beginning, I sometimes had imposter syndrome. I thought, well, how can I have done this? Can't be possible. I must have just been lucky, but it's not. It's just keep working. And I hope that's been useful for everybody. And I don't know if you want to open it up for questions, Chris.
Wow, wow. I have just made so many. I'm just going to make George. Hang on, I'm going to get George to be on here. Give me a second. And a spotlight. Just before George comes on, I just want to say thank you, Merle. Words of wisdom there. You can see over here, I've just been writing notes, and that's exactly what you said right in the beginning. We learn from each other. We learn from each other, and that's the beauty of this industry. And you know, this industry, as we know, it's called network marketing, not net sit marketing. It's not just going to happen magically on its own. And I think because of David Schmidt and this product, we are changing the name of the industry. We're moving that stigma away, and we're giving the industry the name that it deserves. And this is the most beautiful industry in the world. And I see it in its simplest form as redistribution of wealth, the way that the world should be working. And we're doing it with this beautiful product. And, you know, just touching on what you're talking about, testimonies, we've all heard the saying, you know, facts tell and stories sell. Guys, testimonies are the most important thing. And the reason why I wanted to touch on that is because George on the call right now, who George is our upline, which I've got the utmost respect for. George in the beginning sent me 21 messages, guys. 21 messages. George was like a little bit of a mosquito. You know that mosquito that you just want to go dish, dish. He was like, George, and he just sent me a bit of info. And on his 21st message, he sent me a 6.5 minute voice note. And in that voice note, he was telling me about Harvey and Olga with their son Alex with autism. And at the same time, he was telling me about his friend with tinnitus. And on those two testimonies, I could relate to. And I said, George, you got my attention. Send me more info. You know what George says to me? Scroll up. I was like, and George seriously got my attention and got plugged in. And I was one of the people that got a result in 5 days. I was one of those one patch wonders. 5 days, I got results. My mom, 3.5 weeks, and that's what turned everything around for me. And then my partner, Lucinda, got the most amazing results after 7.5 weeks with the tinnitus and all that. And the rest is history. And we share the product, but we share the business as well. People are very scared to talk about the money. And, you know, with LifeWave, we can help people on every level, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and financially. And I love what you said, Merle, that people are still hurting after COVID. I don't think people realize what this world has been through. And there's a thing called a lag period. You know, there's still the aftermath, and people are still trying to keep their heads above water, and people haven't recovered yet. And what you said, don't prejudge. Yes, you might see the fancy car, the fancy house, and you think, oh, they don't need to hear about the business side. Trust me, everybody is looking putting a bit of extra money in their pocket. And that's what I love about LifeWave, is helping people with their health and with their wealth. And as far as I'm concerned, this is a match made in heaven. A 136-year-old industry with a 20-year-old company that has got 180 patents. Guys, guys, guys. This is a marriage made in heaven. I feel like I'm home. I am completely home, and I'm looking forward to walking a very long journey with each and every one of you. And Merle, wow, absolutely phenomenal training this evening. I loved every minute of it. And thank you. I think a lot of people got a lot out of it. So, George, the man of the moment from Mallorca, Spain, over
I
to you.
don't know if the man of the moment, but this is very, very exciting to, after, you know, I think you came in, I started in the 6th of October, 2022. So you were in November, a month later. Let's see everybody's faces rather than just spotlight. I like that. But guys, Merle said something at the beginning which maybe you picked up on and maybe you didn't pick up. pick up on, but she mentioned several times her life alignment buddies, her life alignment. What's happening here? Okay, now I got everybody's faces. Brilliant. Her life alignment people. So what happened is she went into a community of people. Why am I telling you this? I'm always reaching into communities. A couple of people in a group. It could be a church community. It could be a community of. I've been just playing with internet marketers. A community of people. Slowly, 1, 2, 3 people are using the patches. The others are saying to the others. So when one of the things is really interesting when you want to develop this is to think of communities that you can reach into, and when you have 2 or 3 people in that particular community, it grows out. That's one thing I wanted to say. Another thing, Marrakesh, not Marrakesh. I love it, Marrakesh. We should do a song on that. I'm definitely going to be there. I told we had a call today with Claudia, who's the European General Manager, about some things. So just on the by and by, they're working so that more of the products will come to South Africa. It's a process, paperwork, registrations, but they're very, very, very much on that. So process, I just said the word process. Process, everybody has their process. So I talk about a thermostat. Chris's process, my process with Chris to get his attention, I was very clear. I was going to get his attention. He didn't have any choice in the matter. He didn't, but I had to be aware of his thermostat and not overdo it with him. So I was pushing a little bit. I wasn't, I go to myself, no, I can send him something else. No, I can, yeah. But I wasn't going to let go, and maybe I was a bit more forward than I would be with other people. But I could feel it. Now, for example, we have here on this call Dr. Ali. With Dr. Ali, now everybody says make a list. Yeah, make a list. But I didn't make it. When I made a list, I didn't think of Alison at all. I woke up one morning, I thought, I've got to tell Ali. We met at an event 10, 12 years ago, and we kept in touch over the digital world. And I said to her, Ali, I need to talk to you about something in Facebook. She went like this. And then I said, it was kind of before Christmas. Yeah, it's Christmas. We're going away. Let's talk when I come back. She went like this. Then I said again. She went like this. Finally, one Sunday, I said, I'll try again. She said, can you talk now? And the thermostat with her was different. After that talk, I sent her stuff every single day, 3 or 4 testimonials every single day, because my thermostat with Ali was like, yes, I can do this. Other people, you can't. And she said, what great follow-up. So I wasn't wrong with that. So, listen to your own thermostat, but don't take keep the heat on, but don't overdo it. So something that I want to say, I've just got a few things that I want to say is de-virtualize. I met Adrian, who's down there on my screen, in London. We had a short conversation. We'll have a deeper conversation in Prague, and I dare say in Marrakesh. But we've now met personally in the flesh. We know each other's faces. Rather, when I met Chris, I kept saying to him, I thought he was going to be 5 foot or something. I said 4 times, I didn't think you were going to be so tall. So de-virtualize is really important, because what we're doing here is we're building a community. We're all doing something for ourselves. We saw something. It might have taken a while, as Merle was talking about her process, but we've all seen something, and we want to take it to the world. And it's not only about the health. The health is huge, but it's also about the money. I tell Sandy's story. I'm looking at Sandy. I love Sandy's story. She didn't have the money even to get a bronze pack. She said, I believe George. I believe Chris. I believe Harvey. I'm going to start. I don't need to try on myself. In her case, it took 11 and a half weeks for the patches to have something subjective she could see. But meanwhile, she was working with it. And now to tell her story and say, she's reached this level and this particular income, which is many times the average income in South Africa, after having not known what to do after COVID. This is a huge testimonial and a wonderful story. I love these things. Javi said to me something in the beginning, and I'll say it to you guys. He said, you want to get to the point where in your business, there are a lot of meetings going on without you there. And I go, yeah, I like that idea. But as time goes by, this is happening. I could say that every week, somewhere in my organization, there's at least 40 Zoom calls and physical meetings. And one wants to do that. Yesterday, Merle, she has people in her organization who are French. She didn't know that I was like an hour and a half with them last night. Well, talk a very thick accent French guy, really hard work. But anyways, she doesn't know that I was doing that presentation, working in her business. But you really want to, she said, reach deep. Javi always said, people will identify themselves or you identify them. I didn't understand that in the beginning. Yeah, I identify myself. I want to talk to somebody who's been in this business for a while. Then I started to see people, what's going on in my organization. A name appears 5 times in 2 days. Who is that person? Better find out. Reach out to them. Think you need some help? Because I think you're not doing it quite right. But from what you're doing, it seems to me like you want to do this. This is what when we identify people, help everybody that you can. Doesn't matter where they are. And one of the things I would say is at the beginning, in other organizations, they may say, don't do this, mix legs. When you've got a small group of people Merle's got Mexican people in my right leg. I've got a lot of Mexican people in my left leg. And I've got other Mexican people who are not in my team, but they're in my downline. But there's like 25 people in Mexico. There's more, but only 1,500 orders for the whole of Mexico in the month of February. It's very small and it's a very big country. LifeWave is very small. So all those people are connected, give power to each other. For example, Dr. Ali is in my left leg. She's not in Merle's team. She's not in Chris's team, but we cross the legs, and this gives support to everybody else, especially at the beginning when you've got few people, for credibility. So when people see other people, it gives them more credibility. Exposure, Merle told you everything about that. But when she talks about the Americans, we know about that. Chris and I, and all of us, we've kind of toned down the American. You can hear my passion, but we can kind of tone down the American way. My first thing when I heard the first American call was, it's very rah-rah. And then I said to myself, you know what? These people have made so much money. There's plenty we can learn from them. So what Javi says is, eat the meat, chuck the bones. You've probably heard that before, but it's worth bearing. So I think that's pretty much what I want to say, except one more thing. I'm not great at making graphs and that sort of thing, but measure what you're doing. Every week, I was telling Chris, I haven't given this for a while, but remember, Chris, I would give you my numbers every week because I think it was on a Tuesday night because we had a Wednesday night call that I did my numbers every week. How many people on my left leg, how many people on my right leg, how many people all up, how much money came in. And I'm going to say this and then I'm going to stop. So, and Adrian heard me say this in London. Who here has got financial anxieties? And yep, so Johnny P put his hand up. Who here has got financial anxieties? In Spain, 80% of the room put their hand up. In England, maybe 15% of the room, which was interesting to me. Who here wants to help other people? Lots of hands went up, right? Then I'm going to say something that might seem counterintuitive. The money that LifeWave sends us is an expression of our success in helping other people. So I open my arms wide and I say, who here wants to receive lots of money from LifeWave? Changes people's heads around, because a lot of people got a funny thing. I don't understand why. There was people in your team, Adrian, a couple from north of England or middle of England. I talked to them in the queue while we were going in, and they said, I said, how are you doing with your business? And they said, no, we're therapists. We're not interested in money. Now I see the gentleman became a manager, kind of changed money the head around. Anyway, I've said enough. I thank you, everybody, for what you're doing, and let's make this huge. Let's just turn people's lives around, because the changes that are as time goes by, the changes are getting bigger and bigger. I'm seeing conversations. I put a group together with Ali for doctors and the medical people, and seeing some very interesting conversations taking place between those people, and it's getting to that level that the people whose day to day is thinking and working with people with very serious situations. It's wonderful. We got something very powerful here, and hope to see you all in Marrakesh.
Thank you,
We can all
George.
do it.
Thank you. Awesome. Merle, last word of wisdom from you, then we'll wrap up.
Well, there is actually a question. So I said, were there any questions? And Penny said, could I share how I approach somebody who mentioned their health issues? What do I say to them without coming across too strongly? I would actually just say to them that I've got a product that could help. Often, obviously, when people are asking me about health issues, they're asking me because of my background. So it just depends. But, I'll send them some testimonies. So don't come across too strong at all. It's rather telling them, what we have. And look, there's all my Norwegian team, Henrietta, and they're all sitting there together. Hello. Look at them all waving. They're going to start presenting.
Okay. I would add, I have a person who is an old friend of mine. I saw her brother, and he said, I asked how she was. I didn't know. He said she's really not good. She's got emphysema. She's on oxygen. So I called her up and I said, I feel I need to tell you about something. And she said to me, okay, I'll try for a month. I said, don't bother. She says, what do you mean, don't bother? I said, you got something very serious. So David Schmidt always talks about a 90-day protocol. Commit to the 90 days or don't bother. I didn't talk to her about business side of LifeWave at all. So she said, okay, I trust you. I'll do that. After 7 hours of putting the first patch on, she said, I'm noticing something. I'm not sure what it is. After 10 days, she calls me and she says, I've given you a number to 4 friends of mine. She doesn't know anything. That's the proof that LifeWave works completely differently to any other network, because people naturally telling other people. And after a month, she said to me, I was able to walk around the block without the oxygen bottle. It's huge. I love this stuff.
Mind-blowing, hey? Mind-blowing. Sure. Thanks, George. Thank you, Merle. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Who took the time out this evening. And looking forward to a lot more calls, a lot more testimonies, and just having a lot of fun together. So
are we going to do a call next week as well?
We'll chat about it.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Enjoy your evening. Have a good one.
Everyone.
See you all soon. Love you all. Night, everybody. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.